tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to. Raw. Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the ones too, Jay Nice, Juicy Johnny Woodard, live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studio. That's right, dude. Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. Go to SamTripoli.gold and use the promo code Tinfoil, and you too can jump in and get precious metal sent to your house for as little as $50 a month. Guys, we got a nothing but bangers right here, okay? Christian, your darn off is coming on, and dude, he's about to just shish kebab your brain with how everything you think about health is wrong, okay? Johnny, Xavier, we were both rocked the whole time. And this is going to be a crazy episode. Real quick, as you know, my special is dropping this week. It's called Why is Everybody Getting Quiet? Why is Everybody Getting Quiet? You can find it at rumble.com/quiet or samtripoli.com. It should be out very soon. Very excited for you guys to see it. If you want to see me live in mid-November, I'm going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Looney Band, okay? And then Tampa Bay, Florida on Side Splitters, and then going to be in Cancun, Mexico for Jiu-Jitsu Overdose. All right, guys, enjoy this episode. All right, so he's back. He's been on our show before. I really loved his last episode. It was very insightful, and he had a ton of data. So I'm excited to have him again. He's got some interesting takes on health, so I'm excited to talk to him. Please welcome back author Christian Yardendorf. How are you, buddy?
Sam, I'm great, man. So good to see you guys.
I feel like I butchered your last name right there.
You did, yeah.
Yardendorf. I got it right. Come on, dude.
No, that's not what you said.
Dude, it's
what
close.
I say.
It's close enough.
I couldn't even repeat it. What you said.
Shut up, Johnny.
It's like you've had enough. Like you've had enough.
Yeah, there we go, buddy. I think I got right. So, Christian, it's been a while, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, man. I am excited to share with you some of the stuff. By the way, since we last spoke about 18 months ago, a lot of this stuff I learned in this sort of year and a half. So I'm just as sort of messed up by it, at least initially, as you and some of your listeners may be. And, trigger warning for this episode, because we have a lot of things that we think are healthy.
I know I'm going to get some calls from people. That's all I'm going to say. I know I'm going to get some calls from people going, what the hell is this guy talking about? What is he talking about? This is crazy. So I'm excited. So Christian, before we get into it, for those who may not be familiar with your last appearance, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where our listeners can find you?
Yeah. So I am a functional health practitioner, author. I've written 2 books. My first book was on autism. I've worked with autistic kids and their parents to help them both get healthier. But I kind of, in 2018, I got interested in health because my family members around me were really deteriorating in health. And I did a lot of alcohol and drugs in my 20s. So I thought I was screwed. I was going to end up really in a bad way in my 40s, 50s, 60s. So I went on a massive sort of health journey to figure out some stuff. And I got into kind of the biohacking stuff. So I was doing all this low carb, keto, ice bath stuff back in 2018. And I always wanted to work with biohackers, kind of more high performance. And I finally got a chance to write a book on sort of health optimization and longevity, which I published in January this year. So since then, and since kind of appearing on Macroaggressions with Charlie Robinson, I've started working with a lot of guys, and it's been an awesome actually experience helping men restore their health and optimize their health. Because last year when I was talking with you guys, I was like, oh, dudes just don't want to be healthy and shit. But it actually turns out there's a lot of really awesome guys out there that want to put in the work, want to get healthier. So this is what I'm doing more of now. I have a new podcast called How to Actually Live Longer. So you can put that into your favorite podcast app. I go on to show you a lot of the concepts that we talk about today. I develop them further on the podcast in a lot of nitty-gritty detail. My book is also called How to Actually Live Longer. And the website is also called How to Actually Live Longer, where you can actually see me show you the science of why keto, low carb, fasting, intermittent fasting, ice baths, all that stuff is shortening your life, aging you prematurely, and it's tanking your tea at the same time.
Controversy, dude. Yeah. Controversy, dude. This is... Talk about going against the grain there. Wow. Like everything you're talking about is stuff that I've been working on. And now I'm like, did I waste all that time? But I'm open-minded to all of it, Christian. So where do you want to begin? Because everything you've said right here is like goes against the health narrative, which seems to go against the overall popular culture, which we have right now is, just eat and do whatever you want and, just get fat. It just seems like, or maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe
let's get fat, then take Ozempic, right? I mean, that's what the popular culture is now.
Yeah.
It's funny. Have you noticed that it used to be that being fat there was a while there where, fat is beautiful. You're whatever size you are, that's how God made you. Then now that they have Ozempic, right? You hear about all these benefits of getting on Ozempic. Like if you get on Ozempic, you're less likely to get diabetes. You're going to live longer. It's just it's 'cause fat is bad. Is really what it is.
So okay, go on.
You get what I'm saying though. These benefits that they're saying actually come from Ozempic are just from not being a fat fuck for the
I wasn't actually gonna bring up this topic, but by the way, being fat in this toxic environment with this toxic food supply is probably the next best thing to being actually healthy, because seriously, because the other option is, instead of synthesizing all that fatty tissue that people are accumulating, the other option is like cancer and straight up degenerative disease. So it is a second best alternative to just the poison people are eating on a daily basis, man, But I'll tell you, again, I know people will be triggered. And here's the thing. If you're coming off of a standard American diet, moving on to keto, carnivore, low carb, intermittent fasting, a lot of those things you will improve. But the problem is that they're still suboptimal. So you will get healthier, but then they're not enough to kind of really get the goal that most people want, which is, health, longevity, optimal peak mental and physical performance. So they're a good stepping stone, but I myself figured out that they are not sufficient, if you know what I mean. But because your audience is very sophisticated, I know especially your seasoned listeners. I saw you like on 800 plus episodes now. So here's what I kind of tell more sophisticated types. So I was in Acapulco at a little party there with Charlie Robinson, and there was one lady, she was like a VIP, one of Charlie's sort of angels. There was like a VIP package, and she was like this Canadian lady. She's like, oh, I cannot believe all these nuts are so good. Oh, the fasting I'm doing is so good for me. I'm like, listen, you're an Acapulco. Let me put it to you this way. If you were a would-be ruler of the earth, what would you want the great unwashed to think? That starving themselves is going to lead them to better health? Wouldn't that be like the optimal thing, when we all think, dude, if I starve myself for 10 days, I'm going to live longer because I'm going to upregulate autophagy? Isn't that what you would do, right?
No, I will say, one of the guys that I follow most closely, Peter Attia, was the big, Dr. Peter Attia, right? He was an evangelist for this stuff, and he's completely done a 180 on fasting. He's come around to saying that the benefits are purely from caloric restriction, not from any kind of extended period of restricting your eating window. So hey man, and Peter Attia, he lost something like 20 pounds of lean mass doing fasting, because he was doing the sort of the body scans, the MRI, not the MRI, but the scans, the DEXA scans. So he lost a bunch of lean mass. He said he went from 9 to like
14% body fat, so like a few percentage points of fat. Here's the thing. The reason that happened to him, even though he's eating well and he's exercising, is because fasting, anything that stresses you, lowers your metabolism, because that's what the body does in response to a stressor, whether that's psychological, a lot of, work, travel, your business, whether that's fasting, whether that's, relationships, whether that's keto, all of these things raise cortisol. And when you understand what elevated cortisol does to your body on a chronic basis, if you're a logical, smart person, you will then logically say, I need to do things that lower my cortisol. Not, I shouldn't be going out of my way to increase my cortisol, right? Especially, like, dude, I saw you on Instagram. I think you were doing a live, so I just kind of tuned in for a while, and you were talking about, like, you're doing one meal a day. I'm like, I was there in the chat. I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You're 50 years old, dude.
Yeah,
and
don't say that out loud. Yeah, no, totally. I am.
Sorry, I thought people knew.
No. I'm 51. I'm joking. Go on.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, but no, you look amazing for 51.
Thank
but here's
you.
the thing: you wanna continue to kick ass. This is a big reason why these things are becoming mainstream. Sort of, doctors are recommending keto, low carb. They're recommending intermittent fasting, even to like children now. It is straight up, and I have an episode on one of my podcasts. It's called Low Carb Diet, a Depopulation Tool, because genuinely, if you look at the fertility rates of younger people now, guys and girls, they're like one in two is like infertile almost. And if you look at what a high cortisol does, what a low carb diet does, it raises your cortisol. And a high cortisol, what that does is it interferes with testicular function, because the testes, some of the cells run on glucose, the sperm run on fructose, the ovaries need glucose. And when you lower the carbohydrates in your diet, the body starts to shut down nice to have functions, and your immediate survival precedes, libido, higher cognitive function, fertility, these things. And this, I believe, is such a, again, for the listeners, because you're sophisticated, you have to understand these agendas are so intricately sort of weaved into the societal psyche that it's very difficult when you grow up with something, or where something actually makes you feel better after a few months of doing it. It's very difficult to accept that this is actually going to shorten your life in the end.
So how many meals are we talking a day? If it's not one, it wasn't three. When it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner is too much. Sam, one's too little. What are we? 2?
I think
on the other number between 1 and 3.
Yeah.
So the way I teach my clients is, so when you eat a meal, right? You eat the meal. The next couple of hours, you're kind of storing the meal. You're breaking it down, digesting it, and you're topping up your liver with glucose or glycogen, right? So 2-3 hours, 4-5 hours later, you are now depleting that stored glucose. And as that liver glycogen depletes, like through the night, let's say like 2-3 a.m., let's say you went to bed at a normal hour, 2-3 a.m., you're starting to deplete that liver glycogen. At that point, that's when the cortisol, the stress hormones, begin to gently start rising. And what I tell my clients, for longevity or to restore your health, if you have a health issue, you don't want that cortisol to start going higher, right? So every 4 or 5 hours for a weaker person or a less healthy or an older person is a good cadence, right? So you start the day with a little bit of a top up, and then every 3-4 hours you have, like, if you're younger, if you're like in your 30s, you can go all day. You don't feel the stress hormones degenerating you. But when you get older, and I'm sure you guys know, if you're like, I don't know how you felt, but actually, how did you feel not eating all day and having one meal a day, Sam? Just out of curiosity.
So how do I feel? I do feel anxious. Like, I'm just looking at the clock until the window.
The cortisol.
I'm working on a joke right now about how, like, when I'll fast, and then when my window comes in, I just become a garbage can, and I'm just like throwing everything in my mouth that I can, because my window's open. I can just do it, right? So
yeah.
Then I'm like, why didn't I gain weight? It's like, well, because you had Thanksgiving Day dinner and birthday cake and all that stuff all at one time. And so I get that. I totally get that. And here's the only thing that makes me go, there could be, because I have reservations about what you're saying, because people that I really like say a lot of the opposite, but in my life that's pretty much the norm, right? Like whatever I believe, everybody else says the opposite to that. So I'm open-minded to all of it. The one thing I notice, and maybe I'm wrong, is that all these diets that everybody tends to do forever, or whatever eating system they adopt, it never lasts forever, right? It just ends up like this phase in their life where they just go through this thing and they like, okay, I'm fasting for this long, or I'm doing this diet. And then at some point it just ends, and then they go back to their old way and their body just reverts to what it was. So that kind of makes me think that maybe there is something to what you're saying, that maybe these systems aren't optimal for us because we tend not to maintain them for a long time.
Yeah. And the reason that happens is, I like I said, I have on my podcast, on my website, How to Actually Live Longer, I go through the studies, and the one study on intermittent fasting, so 16-8, right, which is kind of a common format. So after 2 weeks, the participants already, their resting energy expenditure was lowered by a median of 59 calories per day. What does that mean? That means so they're doing 2 weeks of intermittent fasting, 16-8. At that point, all things being equal, if the metabolic rate stays the same and the calories stay the same, over the next year, they're going to gain over 6 pounds of fat, 21,000 plus calories. What? That's how, so in 2 weeks, you're, without reducing calories, by the way, they didn't reduce protein or calories. And the same thing happens on a keto diet. Within 4 days, you're already, the thyroid hormones are lowering, the stress hormones are increasing. Similarly, with intermittent fasting, I can show you 3 or 4 studies where at the 2-month mark, the guy's testosterone had dropped by 20 to 25%. And but this is actually very well known. Even if you take a dude and you inject him with like hydrocortisone, which is like synthetic cortisol, immediately the testosterone lowers. So cortisol and testosterone have a sort of they're oppositional to each other. So anything that stresses you out chronically is going to lower your T. That's why Peter Attia, I don't know if you heard the episode, Johnny, when he was interviewed by Derek from More Plates, More Dates, but he was talking about his testosterone, Peter Attia's testosterone being like 320, 330, 350. That is freaking preposterous, bro. Like, you're supposed to be, like a guy like that, he should have a pretty much higher testosterone. That's almost the bottom of the range for Americans. Like 250 is the bottom of the range. That is really bad. I'm sure there's grandpas out there with like double the testosterone. So that is what a lot of the intermittent fasting and the low carb stuff does, because it raises your cortisol, whether you feel it or not. That is having a degenerative effect on your body. That's what cortisol does.
Now, you said that they kept the calorie intake equal across those two in that study. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, isn't most of the benefit, they think now, probably of fasting the caloric deficit, running a caloric deficit? Wouldn't you want to if you were fasting?
I'm glad you asked. There was another study. It was a big study in the University of California, San Francisco. The paper was published in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA Internal Medicine, bro. And they found, so the conclusion of that study was that intermittent fasting, in the absence of other interventions, is not more effective than eating throughout the day. Which means if you intermittent fast, and that group that intermittent fasted, they lost some weight, but 65% of that was lean mass, right? And so the conclusion, and the doctor that ran it, he stopped recommending it to his patients. He stopped intermittent fasting. There was a MSNBC or some other big article about that. So the people, they basically found that unless you cut calories or unless you do exercise, intermittent fasting is actually not more effective. So you have to cut the calories. But here's the thing. If you cut the calories, then your metabolism lowers. And then if you ever go back on the previous calories, you're just going to regain that weight and then some. This is I call it painting yourself into a metabolic corner. I had one client last year. Some days he was eating 900 calories and he wasn't losing any weight. And he was like a 220-pound guy. This is where a lot of people are headed following these regimes, right? So, dude.
So when you say depopulation, that means that this is purposeful. That's being done on. Is that your conclusion that the psyop has entered the health space on purpose to lower the population to stop us from having children?
I believe this is one of the multi-pronged depopulation approach, because here's how you know it is. When I had one client, her granddaughter, 16 years of age, she was visibly hypothyroid on the blood work, right? And I was helping her out, you know, and she told me that she's 16 years of age. Her doctor here in Portugal dude. So remember, things come later to out of the US, you know. The doctor told her to do intermittent fasting. So doctors have been if doctors are recommending it, you better believe that those are directives coming from their boards, those associations, that's coming from higher. So it's not like it was designed to do for that means, but when they figure out that, oh, this actually is helpful, then it can be boosted, it can be amplified with social media, with the algorithm, because that's a study. It's not actually mentioned in the Wikipedia page on, at least when I accessed it in November last year, it wasn't mentioned in the Wikipedia page about fasting. So the narrative on Wikipedia, you know, where the masses go, is that intermittent fasting is good. And by the way, about the caloric restriction, I write about that in the book. So the thing about caloric restriction is a lot of that research, Johnny, is done in rats and kind of animals, right? And what they do is they have a standard lab diet, which is very similar for all the animals, from rats to even to primates. So fish meal, ground up sort of like soybeans, and just, it's a disgusting concoction of glorified toxic slop. And then they feed that to the animals, and then they have a control group that eats less of the poison, and then they allow the other group to eat ad libitum, so they eat as much as they want to get fat, become insulin resistant, you know, develop a bunch of health problems. And then they conclude that the group that ate less poison did better. And it's like, yeah, if you really handicap the studies that way, it does show that fasting, intermittent fasting, you know, skipping meals and stuff like that is good. But when they did it with monkeys, there was a couple of big trials with rhesus monkeys, and the one where they ate a more natural diet, the difference wasn't really significant in the lifespan. And then the other one where there was an increase in lifespan in the calorie reduction group, they were eating these kind of horrific, sort of, like I said, fish meal, like ground up fish heads. It's just disgusting, dude. And by the way, in that study, the monkey that lived the longest was in the ad libitum group. So it wasn't even like the calorie restriction. It lived to 40 years. It was diabetic and it was on insulin, and it lived the freaking longest. It wasn't even on a calorie restriction. So the science is a shit show. So when they tell you the science shows calorie restriction XYZ, you can tell them, oh, that science, you can't even wipe your ass with it, because it's, you know, it's worthless.
So you mentioned earlier, you mentioned, would you say caloric restriction has benefits at all aside from fasting?
Only if you're on the standard American diet and you're truly eating like really like maybe 60, 70, 80 grams of seed oils per day, which many people are nowadays. If you know, one meal, you could get 30, 40 grams, you know? So at that point, eating less is beneficial. But what's actually more beneficial is figuring out roughly what a person needs. Let's say they need 2,500 calories, and then just eating meat. And I'm not saying don't like eat a ton of carbs or whatever. I'm not saying go the other extreme. Just eat a little bit of carbs, a little bit of healthy fats, a little bit of protein, you know, and that person will do a hell of a lot better than going on diets and doing various other interventions.
What if they're carrying around extra fat? You know, they need to be a healthy person. They would need to lose some weight. What would be the best way to do that?
So this is something else I write about in the book. So the problem when you gain weight is you gain a lot of that in polyunsaturated fats, right? And the fat is also a storage site for a lot of the toxins in the persistent organic pollutants that kind of make it up the food chain through the fatty tissue of animals, you know, BCPs and whatever else. So when you start losing a lot of weight quickly, you're liberating this stuff very quickly, and that can overwhelm your detoxification capacities. And the polyunsaturated fats will actually damage endothelial sort of blood vessels, organs. So it's actually the ideal thing is if you're overweight is to take your damn time and actually do detox protocols, support your liver first. I know it's not sexy. I know people hate that, the slow way to do it, but that is actually the right way to do it because they've done research where people that have lost a lot of weight, they actually have a lower life expectancy. They have a higher all-cause mortality rate. And there was actually Harvard alumni in one of those studies that they analyzed. So people that gained a lot of weight or lost a lot of weight or had big weight fluctuations, they did the worst. And the people that actually had the highest, the best outcomes is the people that gained a little bit of weight as they aged. Because again, this sequesters a lot of toxins in the environment that would otherwise attack your organs, your brain. And so it is, again, like I said earlier, being fat, especially in this toxic environment in the USA, in the big cities, is a protective mechanism for a lot of people. So you cannot, something that developed over 10, 20 years, you cannot in a year expect to safely get that off of you,
Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about America's #1 company in the world, and that is Blue Chew. Blue Chew, that's right, dude. Let me tell you, if those horns work, they would be going crazy because we love Blue Chew. They're one of our favorite sponsors. They've been with us since the beginning, okay? And this show's all about getting rock hard, okay? That's what we're about. So Blue Chew wants you rock hard. They want all men rock hard. They told me this. Okay. They called me up one night. I was sleeping. I'm like, who is this? They're like, it's Blue Chew. Get those guys rock hard. I'm like, thank you. Now I have a mission. Okay. So they want to get you rock hard. Their mission, they will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house. Okay, till every tent is pitched, till every rod is raised. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and comes in a chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Okay, the Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online, okay? That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line, okay? You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead. Be ready whenever an opportunity arises. So here's what we need you to do, everybody. We have a special offer deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code TINFOIL at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code TINFOIL to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Hey guys, real quick, I also want to tell you that Wise Wolf Gold and Silver has sponsored my special Why Is Everybody Getting Quiet? They help pitch in for the cost. Thank you to them. Again, my special drops October 15th. Just go to rumble.com/quiet or SamTripoli.com. And you can also see me in Tulsa on the 14th through the 16th. Anything else, guys?
Hit that like button, subscribe. Don't forget to leave a rating on Spotify and iTunes, please.
Yeah, just check out Broken Sim wherever you're listening to this. It's certainly on there. Please check it out.
Okay, let's get back to it. So I mean, like, people always talk about how Americans are obese and all that stuff, and it gets into what's actually the chemicals in our food. So do you think Americans are fatter than ever? I think, yeah, there is a large population that is completely obese. But, there's things like CrossFit, there's jujitsu, there's all this stuff that people are doing that just makes me see like how incredibly shredded a large segment of society is. So maybe there's just more people, and that because there's more people, we just see more overweight people, especially, in the poorer sections where they're just eating this really bad fast food. Yeah. What are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, I think all of the conditions, and obesity is classified as a condition, all of them are increasing, and younger people are being affected. So it's clearly the environment, it's clearly the food supply, and but the thing is, the reason people nowadays are more overweight is probably because a lot of these toxins in the environment are actually like thyroid antagonists, and the polyunsaturated fats there also, they slow down the metabolism. That's why farmers love the corn and the soy, because it's the cheapest way to make fat animals and get the most weight per pound in terms of cash. So I think because we're eating so many of the seed oils and the omega 6s specifically, that's probably the biggest reason why we are where we are in all conditions, all diseases, including things you wouldn't even think about, like even depression and stuff like that. That's probably a big component of the seed oils being implicated there as well.
So how do you get your T up? You're telling me carnivore diet, which it said that red meat gets your T up, and no creatine, all that stuff that's in red meat.
So red meat is great, but the problem is if you just do like strict carnivore, if you just eat meat, the problem is meat has certain things that are out of balance because the animal is like 50% collagen and 50% muscle, roughly speaking. So if you don't like add the collagenous tissue in, you are getting a lot of some inflammatory amino acids like methionine, cysteine, and tryptophan. You're getting too much iron, and you're getting too much phosphate relative to calcium. So it actually can leach calcium out of your bones if you don't know how to balance it. It can iron overload you, which a lot of men have that problem, which ages you, like it increases oxidative stress. And then they've done studies in animals with methionine, cysteine, and tryptophan, where if they restrict those, they can increase lifespan like hugely. So a lot of the the caloric restriction research that shows benefits could also be down to reducing those amino acids in the diet. So if you can reduce those amino acids in the diet, they have this anti-thyroid sort of effect. They slow down the metabolism. If you can reduce those or balance them with collagenous tissue, you're actually ameliorating a lot of the bad effects. But here's the thing: if you're only eating meat, you're stimulating gluconeogenesis to make glucose out of the meat. So first of all, you're wasting high quality protein, and that process is driven by cortisol, and cortisol is oppositional to T. So you want to eat your carbs with it. And dude, I tell you, once I started eating more carbs, like a good amount of carbs, not only did like I start having like morning wood again, but my eyesight improved, my mood improved. Dude, everything. Look, talking about nootropics, I love the nootropics, improving mental performance, all that good stuff. I'm on 20 different things right now, and I'm loving it. Brain's on fire. But the best nootropic, man, is glucose, because your brain is super hungry for glucose. So if you eat low carb, yeah, you will make glucose for your brain and your central nervous system and your red blood cells. But you need like a couple 100 grams a day. You know, if you have to make that, you better believe a lot of nice to have things like your libido, your mood, higher cognitive functions, future planning, all of these things will eventually get shut down. And that's what they want, man. They want you to be in this fight or flight survival mode, because then you can't think long term. You can't sort of plan. You're just stuck in survival mode. They love that because that's how you're easy to control.
Getting back to fasting briefly, you mentioned autophagy, and now were the benefits of that just overblown? I've heard that for you to get to a point where autophagy had a real benefit, you would have to fast for such a long period that it's almost impossible for most people without like a real commitment. You know, like, and some people have that kind of insanity that they can do it for days and days at a time. Yeah. Don't. What would you say about that autophagy?
Okay, so good question. This is one of the most common questions clients ask me. It's like, what about autophagy? That's literally the question. So you have actually
what is that?
That is marketed as cellular. When you don't eat, the body starts to break down suboptimal parts of itself in the cells, and it kind of repurposes them, and you clean up house. So then when you refeed, you are healthier and better. That's kind of the marketing sort of thing. And in my book, I call it autophagy. Starve yourself to upregulate the thing that is caused by starving yourself. Because so the thing is, so autophagy, if you kind of look, you don't even have to look hard to find this. So there's a couple of types of autophagy. You have non-selective, bulk autophagy and you have selective autophagy. So the good one is where you target specific things in the cell that are not working well, like mitochondria, lysosomes, whatever else. And then that actually has been found to be triggered by fructose, certain carbohydrates, exercise. So you can trigger autophagy even while you're in a fed state. But here's the thing, the autophagy that they're sort of lauding is so amazing. That is what happens when you starve yourself. That is the bulk autophagy, which is indiscriminate. So everything gets broken down because the body is like, I don't care about rejuvenation. I care about immediate survival, because truly the body doesn't know, is it going to be alive? Is it going to get another meal in the next 2, 3, 5, 6, 10 days? So it does only things that are, to keep your brain, your heart, your kidneys, the main sort of functions working. So that is called non-selective or bulk autophagy, which is in response to starvation and nutrient sort of deficiency. That's what happens. So that's what you get when you are starving yourself, man. It's a scam. Like I don't think I can sugarcoat it any other way, honestly.
No, it's fascinating to me. Sorry, just really bringing it back to Atiyah. Like, Atiyah was the face of this thing. I don't know if you know him, Sam, but Dr. Peter Atiyah, he's been on all the podcasts that we listen to. He's been on Rogan, all these guys. And he was the face of this podcasting app that was, I think it was created by the guy who did like Dig or one of those old apps that was popular, like, or when Reddit first came to be. I can't remember. Anyway, it's called Zeros, the app. And he was the face of this app. Like, you go in there and you start fasting, and like a little video from Peter Atiyah pops up. And when he abandoned fasting, that to me was immediately like a wake up call. Like, oh shit, like maybe we should look at this, because just the act of him stepping away from it meant so much to his reputation, like a reputation cost to him, that it had to have been a really, like, he knew for certain that it wasn't necessarily what he thought it was. So yeah, I'm inclined to hear this for sure.
Yeah, man. And look, like I said, the people listening are sophisticated, and you have to understand, if doctors are recommending something, there is fuckery afoot almost invariably. Because and because a lot of well-meaning doctors, they're just, yourself, they're brainwashed by like a decade almost of. So it's very, even he's well-meaning. Like, I genuinely like the guy. But I know he's much more credentialed and educated and smarter and more pretty, and probably his dick is bigger than mine, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he and many other people in the limelight right now are just spouting straight up harmful stuff. Like, people, I don't know, I don't want to name names, but there's people like talking, you got to take like 4 or 5 grams of fish oil every day. Dude, I'm telling you, the more I look into it, it's not even for sure that these essential fatty acids are even essential, like literally. Like, that's how deep this could be going,
It's just crazy to me. I mean, this is just, it's, what you're telling me goes against everything I've been told lately. I know people are going to be screaming at the show. What are you talking about? It's just it's so nuts.
What I can offer you, bro, is, if you want, we can run some pretty cool lab tests where we can check your hormones, we can check your oxidative stress, stuff like that. And I can tell you if what you've been doing so far, if there's any gaps in it, and we can very easily, with a few supplements, a couple of dietary changes, we can resolve those things, nip them in the bud before they become an actual problem. So if you need, and I guarantee you won't, very few doctors, even in the USA, are at the level where we are in terms of this kind of discovering imbalances, and not just treating the damn piece of paper, the lab test, but actually figuring out what the person needs to correct the thing, not correct the marker, but correct the thing inside them that is causing that. And what I've noticed is people that take a lot of omega-3s, they have a lot of lipid peroxidation in the lab tests that we run, right? So this is when your fatty, like cell membranes in your brain cells, heart, whatever, they're getting damaged by oxidative stress. And you can measure that in the urine. So I'm seeing on the lab test, they have low omega-3s, and then high-ish lipid peroxides and high-ish sort of moderate DNA damage. And then the lab reports, or what a doctor would tell you, is you need more omega-3s, your omega-3s are low. No, what's happening is the lipid peroxides are high because all the omega-3s are the first thing to get targeted when you're under stress. And man, very few people are out there, or I'm not like, I didn't invent this by any means, but very few people out there are talking about it. And a lot of these folks in like that are big accounts, big influencers. I'm like, if you read my book, you have a few copies of my book. If you read the book, you will see almost everything we think we know about health. We have to be open-minded to rethink and reevaluate, from boosting nitric oxide. A lot of my male clients are on arginine, citrulline, beetroots to boost nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, dude, is fucking pathological. It's a reactive oxygen species and a reactive nitrogen species, right? Low salt. I mean, that's obviously, I'm sure you know that already. That low salt, that's another scam. I mean, it just fiber in the diet. It just goes on and on and on. Almost every single like week or two, I'm like, fuck, this too. So yeah, it's hard. Even for me, at times.
Unbelievable.
What about omega-3s from natural sources? I mean, would you recommend those, like salmon and stuff, or is it all we don't need it?
So have we gotten into the fish oil scam?
That's what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't go out of my way to like remove them, but I wouldn't go out of my way to add them. I have one client. He's got access to literally the best doctors in the USA. Like, he's that level, and his doctor got all the meat out of his diet. The guy used to hunt, and all the meat out of his diet. He was only eating fish every day, like a different type of fish, and taking the omega-3s and a bunch of stuff, doing the exercise, all of that stuff. And then they found coronary artery calcification. Started working with me. I told him, dude, are you kidding me? Get all this fish out of your diet. I mean, if your doctor recommends it, you make your own choice. But I would get all the fish out of my diet. I would throw those omega-3s in the bin, and I would go back to hunting or have someone hunt for you, because all the things your doctor told you probably is what caused you to be in this state right now. So, but to answer your question, Johnny, like natural sources, you're gonna get them. I wouldn't worry about them. But like what I used to do, even like last year, I would like buy fish eggs, like a hake roe, and cod livers with the oil in cans, and like 4 times a week I would open 2 of each, and I would force feed my wife, give some to my dog, give some to my kid.
Feed your wife.
And
how'd that go over?
She hated it, and I did it when she was pregnant. And dude, I was like, fuck, I've been poisoning my family. Now you get other nutrients when it's a whole food, so it's not like terrible. But I'm like, fuck, man, I've been poisoning my family for years with these adding extra omega-3s, you know. So if my advice, not medical advice, this is financial advice. If you have an omega-3 supplement, throw that shit in the bin and don't waste your money on it ever again.
All right,
not financial advice.
I got to play devil's advocate just a little bit, because I've been working out and my joints started hurting. And I went to the supplement store and I was like, hey, dude, you guys look like you guys lift a lot. What are you guys going to give me? They straight up gave me fish oil. They're like, oh, omega-3s. And I took it.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I don't know if it's placebo, but it kind of not hurting as much.
XG, it worked. And I'll tell you why it worked. Because it's very well known in scientific circles that omega-3s and omega-6s are immunosuppressive. When you suppress the immune system, inflammation goes down. And curcumin, it's another thing that might tell you, take curcumin. So curcumin, it does have this actual anti-inflammatory effect, but the problem is that's another thing. I was like, this is getting very big. Let me investigate it. So it has problems. But what I would do in your case is, instead of the fish oil, which again, it suppresses the immune system, that's why you get a benefit. But cortisol does the same thing. In fact, in the 70s, they were using seed oils and certain like fish oils or whatever else. They were using that to give to people that got an organ transplant to suppress the immune system. That's how effective they are, and that's why they're associated with higher cancer in animal studies. So what I would have done in your case is I would have gotten from myherb.com, I forgot the name of the brand, but if you type in willow bark extract, that's nature's aspirin in a more concentrated form. That is an actual anti-inflammatory. And nobody's talking about willow bark extract. They're talking about curcumin, which does have a similar effect mechanistically as the willow bark, or the aspirin, but it also apparently has some other toxic effects, which are kind of a little bit more deeper. But I knew that's another thing. I knew there was fuckery afoot, because curcumin is another thing that over the last few years is being huge, man. So there you go. Another thing you can add to the list to at least investigate.
It's so crazy. I mean, like, it's so nuts that all this is like, it's like you get programmed this, you're trying to do right. You're trying to get away from our, our poison food culture. And now even the healthy stuff seems not to be helping you. I don't,
Yeah.
maybe I should just smoke crack and just never eat, and I'll lose weight and I'll have a ton of energy.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, maybe.
I would do that ahead of a lot of the stuff that it's being freaking promoted out there, bro. Crack sounds like fun.
So here we go. Here, this is something personal to me. My daughter is on the spectrum.
Yeah.
She's autistic. She's getting better and better and better. She's still not talking. We're working on that. We got a lot of people helping us work on that. As I've said before on this show, on my other shows, my daughter, I've been told over and over again that autistic children don't produce what's it called? Serotonin.
Yeah.
And
What? Sorry,
therefore
say that again. They don't produce it.
yeah, that's what I've been told. I can't wait to hear that this is a lie. That they don't produce serotonin, which is why she doesn't go to sleep. She just pulls all night ragers. Like, I'm not even kidding when I tell you, like, it's like I'm like, this is the same energy I got and when I used to be at a Coke party. The way this kid is.
It's a melatonin thing too, though, right? Are you talking about serotonin here? Because I know melatonin too.
Oh yeah, that's it. Okay, I messed up here. All right, so here we go.
I think they're supposed to be low in serotonin also, but I think melatonin they don't release it like the right times or something.
Yeah, so I got that wrong. Serotonin, melatonin. What's the difference between those two?
So serotonin gets turned into the pathways to get turned into melatonin.
Okay, so I'm not far off.
So no, you're not far. But in fact, this is something I looked into fairly recently, and the thing is, when in a lot of the research, when they say serotonin is quote unquote low, they're looking at a metabolite of serotonin called 5-HIIA, 5-hydroxyindoleacetic acid, and they're saying that's low, therefore serotonin is low. But what's more likely the case is that it's low because there's a buildup of serotonin and it's not being broken down, right? So it could be certain enzymes like the MAO, certain genetic polymorphisms, could be cofactors missing like copper, riboflavin B2 and stuff like that. I actually have researchers that I respect have my understanding is that serotonin is actually high in autism, and there was, at least I can send you the study. There was a study where I think they used a couple of drugs, but one of the drugs they used is called cyproheptadine, which is a serotonin antagonist, and that actually helped to there was an improvement in the kids in the study. But here's the thing: this cyproheptadine is also, some people use it, some doctors use it off label for insomnia, for psychosis, for a lot of things where actually serotonin is high. So if someone cannot sleep at night, it's not about melatonin. It's not about making melatonin or whatever else. It's actually, I would probably say that person has a lot of serotonin. And the more I looked into it, the more I've seen a lot of my clients actually have a high serotonin issue. And that is been found to be high in depression, not low. And it's causing a lot of anxiety type stuff, psychosis type stuff, and a slew of other horrific health problems. If you want to unpack that, we can.
Yeah, I do, because I would like to know what are your suggestions for that.
So what I would personally, what I would do, this is not medical advice to you, okay? Because first of all, I believe cyproheptadine, I think it's possible to get in the USA. It's not over the counter. I get mine. Actually, I've experimented out with that myself personally because I think I was a high serotonin type in the past. But what I would do is I would talk to my a good smart doctor and talk about potentially trialing cyproheptadine, which is it's an antihistamine that has a serotonin blocking effect. And I would do that, and I would make sure that a lot of it actually, by the way, another psyop I found out is when I wrote my autism book, they were talking about copper toxicity, how that's such a huge issue, copper overload. Turns out the guy who is still alive, a great guy, but the guy that kind of I learned that from, his two mentors that he learned the most from, they were both like involved in MK Ultra, dude.
Oh
They
my
were like
God.
administering LSD and stuff to the people. So that's I actually removed it from the new edition of the book. The whole copper overload thing. I don't actually think that's an issue. I think a lot of people are actually low on copper. What that does is you can't produce more the dopamine side of things, the dopamine, adrenaline, noradrenaline, and when dopamine is low, serotonin goes up. It's like cortisol and T. They kind of seesaw up and down. So with a person like that, we want to see if a serotonin antagonist actually helps them sleep, which dude, it will. Like I'm 99 million% sure it would help. If that's the case, it's clearly a high serotonin issue, which is actually a big problem for a lot, because remember, a lot of moms are on SSRIs. Remember that. And 90% of the serotonin is made in the gut, and autistic kids have a lot of gut problems. So when the gut is disturbed, that serotonin gets released from the gut. It can be absorbed into the body, and it can wreak havoc because you need tiny amounts of serotonin. I mean, this cyproheptadine, you know, I get mine in 4 milligram tablets, dude. I break off a quarter, I take a milligram, and that's enough to help you sleep like a baby for 11 hours. So you need a tiny amount of serotonin, and the gut can produce a ton of it. So that's what I would do. If that's the case, then you want to work on boosting dopamine, get the B vitamins in to make sure that serotonin is being processed. That's a start. And by the way, remember I offered last year, if you want to run lab tests, I've worked with some very complex autism cases. I got one kid, he's like 7 now, still non-verbal, but when they started working with me, the parents, in February, he's now actually becoming verbal. He's actually he's in school now. So I've worked with some very serious cases. So I will move mountains for you in terms of like lab testing, advising, helping you help your kids, So just saying that
That'd be
offers on the
great.
table anytime, man.
I'll talk to you after the show. We'll I think I have your number, but I'll make sure I get it.
Yeah.
We'll go from there. So listen, so obviously I meant to say melatonin, not serotonin. So sorry to everybody about that. Daddy just got off a plane and I'm illiterate. So what are you thinking that I should give my daughter? Like what do you think I should do to help her sleep? Because sometimes she'll hit the sack, and then just someday we call it the giggle monster. She gets the giggle monsters, and she is up all night. And I'm not lying.
Does she giggle a lot?
What?
Does she giggle?
Oh, she's a giggler. Oh, please don't tell me this is a sign of even worse stuff. But yeah, do we know when she's getting super giggly that she's gonna go on she's ready to go all night.
So have you done any candida neurotransmitter testing, stuff like that, stool testing? Have you done any of that stuff?
No.
So dude, okay, so listen, we have to do a battery of tests. It will be the best couple of grand you will spend. So just as an example, with this nonverbal 6-7 year old kid I was talking about, he is a giggler as well. We did neurotransmitters. It's insane. Like a bunch of stuff high, a bunch of stuff low. So things like glutamate, stuff like that. But what I found is, first of all, I don't use melatonin anymore for any purpose with anybody because it's related to the serotonin metabolism, which is not good. Okay, so I actually took that out of the book as well. By the way, all melatonin related info. I just don't even like tell people about it anymore. What we do is we use several different, usually amino acids, minerals, very very basic things that the body requires that can be very helpful, very therapeutic. So glycine, that's inhibitory. Theanine, that's also kind of calming and relaxing. GABA, that's another calming and relaxing. So and taurine. So these four, some combination of them is what we use with clients to, if the child is very hyperactive during the day, it can help to stabilize them. If they're doing the giggling thing at night, it can help them sleep. Actually, with glycine is so effective for one of my clients that he said, I cannot give my son glycine during the day because he gets like super sleepy. But I told him, well, great that you have that, because for some kids don't respond at all to anything, so you have to then think even harder. So glycine during the day can just It's not super sedating. GABA can be more sedating for sleep. Theanine during the day is calming. So if someone like I'm more ADHD tendency, that really calms me down during the day. And then taurine is a like a very versatile morning, night. So I would try combination of those four. But if you're not doing basic supplementation like B vitamins, if you've not done a stool test, because candida can be high in a lot of kids, and that can actually be a reason why they're giggly. So if you haven't done urine testing, stool testing to see what pathogens, if any, are there, usually there are a number. So I can guide you through all of this. If again, I'm not pushing, but like I said, any amount of time that you require, any lab test, any interpretation, you can absolutely count on me, dude. Genuinely, I want to do it. I would love to help.
I appreciate that, and I'll make sure when we're done, I get your number. We can discuss it.
Yeah.
Not to get too far into the autism thing. What do you think causes some kids to not talk?
That one I've been kind of researching on and off since about 2020 when I published the autism book. I honestly am not sure. I think there's sort of critical brain stages that are required for all the things that the nervous system does, right? And at a certain point, if certain nutrients are missing, or there's certain stressors or certain bacterial toxins or toxins from the environment, they can disrupt that stage. So it's obviously a very complex thing, but I think that is probably a big reason why some kids have delays. Is just not, the thing is, kids don't eat a lot of food, and it's very hard to get the food into them. So unless you're like truly going out of your way to get the most nutrient dense diet and adding supplements on top, I think a lot of kids out there, they're not showing deficits, but they're definitely not in their optimal, if you know what I mean. And it's just becoming more and more pronounced because there's more vaccines, more toxins, more stress, more EMFs. So you have to, dude. I've been giving my daughter this gut cleansing herbal mix since maybe she was like 6 or 8 months, and I'm giving her certain fat soluble vitamins now to kind of protect her from polyunsaturated fats, to help with bone development. So you got to start early, and you have to be really stay on top of things. And if you're if you're doing like co-parenting stuff like that, then you have to help the other parent make sure the stuff is getting sent to them, make sure they know what to give them when. And when you see the kids, make sure I buy a lot of things that are topical and droppers. So I just tell my kid, my daughter, open your mouth, squirt some iodine, open your mouth, some whatever, zinc. And I'm constantly staying on top of it. And every day I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna be in school, they might eat some crap, let me give her something to support the detox system. If you don't make this a habit and get a little bit more sophisticated, and not you, but in general, a person,
right.
If you don't become a more sophisticated person in terms of looking after your health, other than just buying groceries and making meals, you are gonna succumb to the modern world. And this is what I teach my clients in my health and longevity program. In 6 to 12 months that you work with me, you learn everything from diet, detoxing, gut health, optimizing sleep, every single thing you need. And then you can do that with your partner, with your kids. So you then can teach others around you. This is how we're gonna change things, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm excited to talk to you, and I would love to get you on the phone with Dana too. She's really good at understanding everything. So yeah, I'd love to have you.
Tell you one thing that would be awesome, because I know your kids are probably like 5, 6 now, right?
They're 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a test where it's a food sensitivity test, but it's not like your run-of-the-mill test where they look for IgG antibodies. They take the blood, so we get the kit shipped to the person's address. They go to a clinic, they get some blood, and then that gets sent to the clinic, and then they take the blood and they expose all the different foods and various chemicals found in the food supply, and then they measure the immune response to the food. And we do this with my adult clients as well. So very quickly which foods are like red and yellow, so super inflammatory for you. And everybody has a couple that are red. I've seen and a few yellows. So if you do that and immediately remove those yellows and reds, that alone is going to lower so much inflammation and a lot of. By the way, another, just to go back to that non-verbal stuff, I believe a lot of the stuff in terms of sort of developmental deficits and whatever, it has to do with this undercurrent of chronic inflammation. So this kind of test that we do, this was a game changer for a lot of clients, man, because you are immediately lowering inflammation to as much as it can be lowered, at least from food. Because remember that a lot of these reds, they're red because you're eating them every day. So it's like a double whammy. The things that are most inflammatory are staples. Like I had one client, he was on the corn every day. Another client loved chicken, and she was eating chicken every day. So that alone, just that one test is a game changer. But we can, like I said, stew, oxidative stress, vitamins, minerals, all of that stuff. Like for 12, 13, $100, we could get so much data that, in a year's time, having tweaked all the little things that we need to tweak, that child's life trajectory, or any human really, is just, you've gone from, 60-70% of their potential in this toxic world to potentially 80-90 plus, as long as you teach them how to maintain this trajectory basically as they grow up, really.
I'm excited to talk to you off camera about all that stuff.
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I think it's important. So let's get into this. I have a good friend of mine. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He is constantly begging me to get into an ice bath and do.
Is he a flat earther too?
Yeah, well, yeah. No, he's actually hates flat earthers.
Okay.
He actually hates flat earthers. No, this isn't Eddie Bravo.
Okay.
This is a black belt under Eddie Bravo. Though. A good friend of mine I've known for probably 30 years almost now.
Okay.
He constantly wants me to do a ice bath. What is your thoughts on ice bath?
I would tell him to slap him, but then now that he's a BJJ black belt, I'd say
yeah, he will F me up.
Politely decline. So this is a very good question, and I want to tell you guys out there, unless you're an athlete, competitive athlete, or you have a lot of like aspirations at an amateur level, there's absolutely no need to do ice baths, because the reason athletes like MMA fighters and whatever do it, you could say that there's rationale. They're getting in the ice bath to lower inflammation, but remember, XG, that things lowering inflammation by suppressing the immune system is suboptimal. So stress, i.e. activating the sympathetic nervous system or the fight or flight nervous system, right? Stress will suppress the immune system. So when you dunk yourself in the ice bath, first thing that rises is your adrenaline, noradrenaline, norepinephrine, and then cortisol soon after. So that the stress of that downregulates the immune system, so you have less inflammation. But so again, if you're an athlete, you got to train twice a day, whatever else. Sure, you're taking a hit, but potentially maybe for a big paycheck to entertain all of us. So there's, the greater good there. But if you're just a regular Joe, especially if you're like 40 plus, like, why would you want to do anything that spikes your cortisol and rate? Like, yeah, okay, it wakes you up in the morning, but you're being woken up by fucking stress hormones and cortisol and adrenaline. So what I would do is I would tell you, if you want to lower inflammation, what I told to XG, get some willow bark extract, right? Because it's more powerful than just willow bark. Take 2 to 4 of those, and that's like, again, like nature's aspirin, and that actually, like, you feel less pain, you feel less inflamed. That is how you do it. That's how people have been doing it for like thousands of years. This ice bath stuff is, again, another fad that is I believe algorithmically being sort of bubbled up to the surface, because the algorithm, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist here, the algorithm is like, oh, harmful, let's push that up. Oh, degenerate, whatever, push it up. Oh, sex stuff to frustrate young men, to make them hate their body. Women, make them want to eat less, make them feel fat, bubble that up. So this is just another one of those things that, again, and we get a short-term benefit of lowered inflammation. You have more energy because of the stress hormones, and then we conflate that as a beneficial intervention. And this is where the insidiousness of these things lies, you do get some benefit. You know, like the Wim Hof breathing, bro. That's another thing that is actually harmful because it raises your adrenaline, and that adrenaline suppresses your immune system. So when they did the study and they injected the guys with the endotoxin, they didn't get the fever and the sort of the sickness behavior because they couldn't muster up the immune response because the stress hormones had suppressed their immune system. But you know what? Over a long enough timeline, that is how cancer develops. So great way to feed the cancer industry in a very sort of subtle way while people are still young. Let it start there, you know, weaken them there, and then
So crazy,
as the time
dude.
comes, we can monetize those fuckers.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
So where do we go to find what you believe is the correct way to eat and live?
howtoactuallylivelonger.com and podcast player, how to actually live longer, or look for my name. I have another podcast, Connecting Minds. There's more interviews and stuff. Yeah, man, like it's this, like I know that these kinds of episodes probably don't do the best in terms of viewership, but it's sort of frustrating because this is one of the most important topics that you have ever covered. I not because I'm here or whatever, the information itself, no ego here, right? It's because a lot of us out there, myself included, we're duped. I was doing these things as well, and it turns out that we're just harming ourselves in a different way. It's like switching one poison for another poison. So it's important, man. We have to become educated the way, you know, like back in the day, guys, you'd buy a car, you'd learn how to like fix the car if it broke down and stuff, or your bike. We need to be like that with our bodies, you know, because this is the most important vehicle we have. If we don't learn how to fix this and we spend our time on other things that are lower priority, we're invariably gonna like be caught in somebody's net out there. There's a lot of nets that are gonna catch us, you know. So yeah.
What about fitness training, cardio versus weight training? Could you talk briefly about that? Are there any major misconceptions about the benefits of training with weight?
Oh my god! And like, I have one client. She told me like a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, maybe. It's like, so now the next thing I want to do is I want to raise my VO2 max, and then she started continuing, and I'm like, stop. Yeah. Why? She's like, that's a good question. And Peter Attia talks about zone 2 and VO2 max. Like VO2 max is basically a measure of how much stress a person has put themselves to endure, and now they're adapted to a higher level of stress. So because my book is on longevity, I want to help people resolve their health problems and optimize their longevity. I absolutely do not recommend any kind of endurance exercise, because I can even give you like not just animal research, but also some human research that shows that it ages the cardiovascular system, right? It can contribute to the calcification. It's a degenerative activity, right?
So can I ask you, but it does correlate in studies with longevity, right? But are you suggesting that it's more genetic? People that are just genetically have higher VO2 maxes are going to live longer?
So it's another difficult topic, because a lot of the research is the kind of, I don't think the research is truly painting the full picture. It's like we're looking at a tiny little part of the picture, right? The fact is, so here's the way I kind of describe it to clients sometimes. If you're naturally strong, great. If you're naturally fit, naturally lean, or you have a naturally high VO2 max, that's great. But if you have, let's say, like a bodybuilder or endurance athlete, or some like someone that becomes super lean for a competition, or very strong because they lifted a lot of weights, if you had to put yourself through a lot of stress to get to that VO2 max or level of leanness or level of strength, that means you endured a lot of stress. And if you stop, and then over the next, let's say, 2 to 12 months, if you kind of regress to a baseline that was way lower, so you lost a lot of those gains, it means that to maintain that VO2 max, strength, leanness, whatever else, you were enduring a lot of stress. And that inherently, that stress is what actually ages us, because you will see, if you look in the research, just injecting animals with cortisol reproduces, starts to create this aging sort of phenotype. People with lower cortisol level look younger. They're evaluated as younger. Twin studies where the younger a twin looked, the more likely that the older looking twin would die sooner. And the bigger the age gap, the sort of the more likely that person would die. So this is my point. So if you're not pushing yourself too much, too often, you can do any kind of exercise, right? Anything. But if you're doing it to reach a certain level, and it takes, let's say 6 hours of training a week to maintain those gains, let's say muscle mass or again, endurance, fitness level to run a marathon in whatever, 2.5 hours. If it takes like multiple hours per week to maintain it, you are just, you're like adding stress to your system, which is actually not going to be adding to your longevity. I hope that kind of makes sense.
So would you say David Goggins isn't going to live too long?
No, and I feel sorry for guys like that. I really do, man. I saw some show. There was one I think he was Scandinavian triathlete, and he was training for the Olympics in the summer, and he was like he either had a world record or he was gonna break a world record. He was training twice a day, doing the ice bath, and then I looked at the guy, and then when they told me he was 27, I was like, holy mother of God, this guy looked like 45. So this is what these guys are doing. They're aging themselves internally, but eventually it will manifest externally. And with a lot of these guys, like the guy Jim Fix that popularized running, and he died at the age of like 52, man. And then they're saying, oh, he had a heart issue. Blah, blah, blah. No, dude, he was running, pounding the pavement every day. That destroys your health. Now, to make sure people don't think like I'm a lazy slob, I like tennis, paddle. I used to do Thai boxing. So, lifting weights. The point is, again, how much stress are you putting on your system? If it takes you like days to recover after a session, you're going too hard. That's all I'm saying. Don't go too hard. But what I do is when I go hard, like I went to this paddle thing, which is like tennis, like racquetball. I went for a
pickleball. Is that
it's called paddle.
Okay.
It's big in Portugal, but I went for a lesson with like a very good coach last week, and I was like 4 days I was dying, dude. So I'm like, I took that hit, but at the same time I was taking like 20 supplements a day, and today I'm super recovered. So the point is, if you're gonna put yourself through that stress of whatever conditioning, exercise, whatever, you gotta meet yourself where you're at, especially the older you are. So like I take a bunch of stuff that lowers my cortisol, like vitamins that lower inflammation, all of that stuff constantly. Protein, everything is dialed in, dude. So that's all I'm saying is, if you're gonna push yourself, don't just push yourself in the gym, but make sure all your ducks are in a row: nutrition, rest, sleep, all that good stuff. That's all I'm saying. You gotta, don't be super one-dimensional like a lot of guys, like just getting pumped. And then like my barber, I'm sorry, don't want to throw my barber under the bus, but the guy's like 10 years younger than me. He looks my age because like he has these big muscles, but like he's already, like he's in his 20s, he's already wrinkled because he's pushing himself so hard to look huge and jacked and shredded, but he's not meeting the stress where it's at nutritionally. And I'm always like telling him, you gotta do more, but you can't. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't, make him drink.
So there's been a lot of content made about how Gen Z is looking so much older.
Yeah,
they're just like, they're showing pictures of these girls that are like 22, 23, and they're asking like plastic surgeons like what age they are, and they're putting them at 38, 39, 40. I know this is like out of nowhere, but do you have any thoughts on like why Generation Z is aging so much quicker than everybody before them?
Well, it's again this sort of generational warfare where our parents were weakened, so we were our whole start in life, we were weaker to begin with. Like I have my my neighbor below me, this French dude. He's 75. When they moved in under us, he painted their house inside, their apartment inside and out, and then he proceeded to live in there after he painted it, dude. He had the windows open during the day, but he lived in the house he painted. And then his wife, who's maybe closer to 80, she came in, they were like living, and I was going up and down the corridor, and just the smell there, I was like, dry heaving, and like I would grab my daughter like a football, and I'd run up the stairs to make sure she's not exposed to that for more than a few seconds. And these guys just living there, and then they're getting up in the morning, they're on their bikes in their 70s, and okay, the ladies like very wrinkled up and stuff, but the point is that that older generation, they're resilient as hell because they ate more real food, more nutritional density, less toxins, less EMS. So these younger kids now, I really feel sorry for them. Why do you think I'm so passionate about helping you with your kids and like with my kid, her diet? Because unless we truly go out of our way to protect them and to teach them how to survive and thrive in the world, they're just gonna be like all these other people. And like they're these kids being born now, in at least in the States, their life expectancy is probably gonna be lower than their parents now, man. And it's all got to do with us not adapting to the environment sufficiently. That's why I do the work I do.
Where do you fall on sunlight? I know there are some people who say that you should be exposed to the sun as much as possible, and they go out and stare at the sun. And there are others who say that you should never go out without sunscreen. Where do you fall on that?
So I fall more in the latter category, but here's the big problem that a lot of people don't actually fully grasp. So because most of us have a lot of polyunsaturated fats in our body, that includes in our skin and our eyes and everything, if you go out in the sun, the UV light hitting your skin is going to, peroxidize, damage those polyunsaturated fats. So while you are cleaning up your diet, getting them out of your system, you you really have to be careful not to burn in the sun, because these polyunsaturated fats, they go rancid even in the fridge in low temperatures. So anytime they're exposed to oxygen, UV light, heat, they can peroxidize and cause chain reactions of damage. So hence why I think a lot of skin cancer nowadays is it's not just the stuff we're putting on our skin, but our skin is more liable to damage from the sun. So I would absolutely like try to get 2-3 hours of daylight a day, and some of that in the sun, but make sure that you're working on getting the polyunsaturated fats out of your body. That process takes like hundreds of days, like multiple years. So it's a lifestyle to survive and thrive in the modern world. You gotta say, okay, no more PUFAs. For me, that includes nuts and seeds. I don't eat any nuts and seeds almost, because they are also polyunsaturated. So I'm trying to minimize them as much as possible. So that would be my tip. And actually, interestingly enough, vitamin E would be a very good sunscreen if someone is out in the sun. That would probably be the best sunscreen. Like pop up on a capsule and smear it on yourself. I think that would be, in the meantime, while you still have a lot of these polyunsaturated fats, just little tip there.
Now, do you recommend for people with a family history of heart disease that they avoid saturated fats as well? Or
I would double down on the saturated fats. It's actually I have a podcast episode. It's actually the omega-6 linoleic acid that is much more, if you look at the kind of the more basic research, not this epidemiology that they throw at people, it's actually, that's more implicated in this atherosclerotic processes. And what's interesting is that when they correlate animal fat saturated, they say it's saturated fat, but if you're looking at like a chicken, a pig, and even like a lot of ruminants that eat a lot of grains, they will have a lot of omega-6s. Like lard is like 20% omega-6s. So they're like, oh, animal fat's bad for you. It's because the animals are eating freaking corn and soy. If they were properly pastured, I don't think the research could find those correlations like it has.
Don't the more grass-fed animals though have a different profile? Aren't they more omega-3 heavy than those raised on corn?
They say they have more omega-3, but like omega-3s are generally very low, so I wouldn't worry about.
Okay.
At least from like eating beef, I wouldn't worry about getting too many omega-3s.
Are you optimistic? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go no, please.
Or are you optimistic about any of the longevity supplements that we hear about, like rapamycin and some of the more mainstream ones that we've heard about in the past? I know there's that big dog study that they're waiting on with rapamycin. Do you have any optimism about any of that stuff?
So little teaser for the next volume of my book. I'm very optimistic about aspirin, bro.
I'm sorry, aspirin?
Aspirin could be one of the best longevity supplements, quote unquote. That's why I have willow bark extract. That's why I mentioned it multiple times already. That's why I have it in my protocol daily. I actually take aspirin as well some days, a lot of the days,
Like a baby size aspirin or a
no,
full dose?
no. Dude. Some days I take monster doses. Like your eyes would bleed if you saw me taking three,
Maybe
4
literally.
grams of. No, that's another misconception that aspirin makes you bleed. It's probably the excipient. So I get my aspirin from Spain in cornstarch and cellulose base, right?
Oh, like the binders? Is that what you're
It
in
could be
America?
more the titanium dioxide and all this other nonsense causing more problems. There's actually research that it actually can protect from like uh brain bleeding and stuff like that. The reason they're smearing aspirin is because they have newer drugs that they make more money off by selling to thin the blood and stuff like that. But dude, willow bark has been known and used for like, I don't know, 4,000 years plus. This is because they do some of this a lot of research in like nematodes and like little tiny organisms and stuff. Like willow bark and aspirin, that's one of the most promising in terms of like life extension. I forgot, was it in the hundreds of percents? But certain over-the-counter supplements, not as fancy as rapamycin and whatever else, they actually, in that more basic research, they actually are much more promising than these. I don't know about these other ones, but like things like metformin, that's a scam. I used to take it.
Yeah.
I used to take it. Stupid, very stupid. Would never again. Growth hormone, another scam. The guy's paying thousands every month, like Joe Rogan, on growth hormone. It's actually carcinogenic in certain contexts.
What's the other one that the doctor?
So you shouldn't take HGH. Is that what you're telling me?
Dude, I would never take. I would never.
And how about testosterone? Don't take that either.
Here's the thing. I have a simple over-the-counter strategy I teach my male clients on how to block aromatization of things into estrogen, like testosterone and stuff, how to boost the androgenic pathway, and it works super well, and it's cheaper. You don't have to inject yourself. And the problem with testosterone is because you're injecting so much, there's a high potential for that testosterone to aromatize into estrogen. So if you don't look after the blocking the aromatization into estrogen, which a lot of doctors, they're just injecting you and that's it. This is actually where a lot of the negative stuff with testosterone is coming from. When guys have a very high testosterone and that turns into estrogen, it's the estrogen that will make you like aggressive, horrible to be around with, horrible mood. And a lot of the bodybuilding steroids, they're actually from an estrogenic base. So they might have an androgenic sort of affinity for the androgen receptor and stuff, but because they're like from an estrogenic base, they're actually causing a lot of estrogenic type symptoms. So a lot of, I don't know if you've heard like bodybuilders talk about the weird sexual fantasies they have. They want to bang like centaur women and whatever else. So, but the way we do it, over the counter, cheap, safe, and it doesn't downregulate, doesn't shrink your testicles, doesn't downregulate your function. You can still have kids later if you want, wean yourself off it in a couple of months, and it works a charm, bro.
So I have bad hips. My hips, I think I did some damage to them during my partying days. It's like I can't stretch the way I want to. It's like hard for jujitsu. What do you think's good for hips and joints like that?
So, but is it painful when you do that, or is it just you feel like your muscles
I feel like my hinges are rusty.
Well, what I would do is let me order some lab tests to your home. You can conveniently like pee in a cup, poop in a thing, super easy. Prick your finger, drop some blood on some paper, and we can find all of the most glaring imbalances. And by the way, every single person has some. I'm sure.
I'm going to set the high score. I have to be. I know I'm going to.
No, dude, it's kind of crazy, but it's it's usually sometimes people that you would think they got everything dialed, and they're just doing something crazy, like taking 10 grams of fish oil or something like that, every day, and that discombobulates a lot of things. So I wouldn't like you look to me. It's when I look at a person's face, that's a window into their health, right? And you actually, for someone that's your age, you actually like I believe because I've done, you know, various substances, and this goes back to the serotonin sort of discussion, is I believe some of these substances are straight up therapeutic. That is why they made them illegal, LSD being one of them, because they found that in smaller doses, LSD is an antagonist of sorts to serotonin, and that has a lot of. So I think people are, yes, they like the buzz. I think the reason the microdosing thing started getting a lot of traction over the last few years is because people are straight up getting therapeutic effects out of these microdoses of LSD, because when the LSD binds to the serotonin receptors, I don't know if you've ever tried it, but if you take LSD 3 days in a row, on the third day you don't feel anything at all because you saturate your receptors. So it has a very sort of long time that it spends there. During that time, serotonin can't do the horrible things it will do. So this is super therapeutic. So okay, some of the other ones, they can be a little bit nastier in the long term, but I forgot where I was going with this.
What do you think about psilocybin? Is that in the same arena?
Yeah, I'm not. I was looking into it briefly. I'm not sure if it's a. I know it's a lot of those things, including LSD. They interact with serotonin receptors. For example, the 5-HT2A. That's the one that you get kind of the more hallucinogenic things. So the thing about LSD, for whatever reason, at smaller doses, it binds, but it doesn't exert action. Whereas at higher doses, it actually that's what causes the hallucinations. So with psilocybin and mushrooms and various other tryptamines, I'm not quite sure. Are they just having the effect, and that's why you're getting the? But what from my research, and this goes back to what I talked about cyproheptadine, which is a serotonin antagonist at the receptor level. What I found is if you go on Wikipedia, if you look at drugs that block serotonin receptors, dude, some of these things, they weren't marketed due to safety concerns, but they're being researched to treat the most aggressive and common type of brain cancer, glioblastoma. That's a certain serotonin antagonist. And then if you look at things that stimulate dopamine agonists, these things are used to treat sexual dysfunction in people. So it seems like anything that blocks serotonin has positive effects. Again, opposite to what we're being told, serotonin, the happy chemical, dopamine will make you addicted and psychotic. And things that stimulate dopamine are therapeutic. And whereas things that stimulate the serotonin receptors are the hallucinogenic things and very dangerous sort of designer drugs. So that's another clue that it's almost opposite land out there, man. They're saying that high dopamine causes schizophrenia. Another lie. ADHD is that you have high dope. No, sorry. ADHD is that you have low dopamine, but then they give you a fucking amphetamine to treat that, where you can just raise your dopamine with amino acids and like basic minerals and vitamins, But anyway, that's a whole rabbit hole. I'm not sure if we have time to discuss.
This has been enlightening and crazy, and these are the episodes I love. I want to go down this hole and check it out. I'm gonna get some of that willow bark too. I mean, that sounds like something I need to have. We'll see. It's kind of crazy, man. Again, what is the website they can go to and do deep dives on if they want to learn more about this?
howtoactuallylivelonger.com.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get in there. I offer a free metabolic function assessment session with me, so we can get together, do a little survey of your areas, signs, symptoms. We can sit down together, discuss your health issues, health goals. I can explain how I can help you achieve your health goals, resolve your health issues. We can make a winning plan for you. And dude, I'm super passionate about stuff. I just love, one of the best feelings is like clients telling me. I had one client, he works in the film industry. He was just on a movie gig, and he said, dude, I was like, I saved this movie. He told me, like, I saved this movie. I'm cool as a cucumber. Thank you for the help. And I'm like, dude, you just made my ear, So this is what I love to do. So if anybody needs help out there, man, including you guys, if you want any lab work done, ordered, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but like the stuff I do is pretty next level. So I would love to help you, find the things that in 20, 30 years or even sooner could become a problem. Let's catch them now. Let's address them simply and easily. And let's get on with our lives kicking ass.
I'm in, dude. I love it. Christian, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Let's break down this episode. All right. What'd you guys think?
Like Johnny said, I'm confused. I don't know what to think, what to do.
Yeah, it's kind of everything,
No, I mentioned the fasting thing. Like I have been doubting the fasting thing since the guy that got me into it, Peter Attia, a couple years ago, Dr. Peter Attia. He's one of maybe the loudest voice in this longevity, like health space, kind of modern medicine, like preventive medicine, not getting sick, kind of like a new style of medicine. He calls it medicine 3.0, I think. And he was the face of fasting, intermittent fasting, IF, for years. And then he just completely, because he realized, like Christian said, he realized that he was losing lean muscle mass while doing it, like disproportionately, more than you would expect to from that kind of calorie deficit. And that's kind of the worst thing the worst outcome of any kind of diet, is where you lose way too much lean mass and not enough fat. And he realized that, or he says anyway, that most of the benefits of fasting are actually just from the caloric deficit, which you could do that without fasting.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's one of the bad things. That's one of the bad things from Ozempic. They said you're losing a lot, but a lot of that is muscle. Like you're losing a lot of muscle with that fat, which, like you said, it's the worst thing you could do. That's not progressing when you're losing muscle.
They all look like skeletons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, dude.
Are you done fasting, Sam? Are you done with maybe the 2?
I don't know. We were going to start it up again.
To start a new thing. So
I like I've said this before. I like a combination. The thing that fasting stops me from doing is snacking. And I think that's where I get murked all the time. I'm just like eating, like I'm bored. So I just eat to feel something. And like the fasting forces me not to do that. So I've always, and I've felt my soul that there's this kind of combination, like that's why I like counting calories. But even I've had people say that's crazy too. That's just ridiculous shit too. But it just seems like it forces me to work within a structure.
Well, that's science. I mean, I think that's a pretty well documented effect. The idea that just the act of measuring calories, counting them, and you end up what there's a saying, like what is counted is managed. That's not the exact quote, but that's the effect of the quote, I guess. And I'm pretty sure that's well documented. The idea that when you start monitoring your intake, whether it's calories or other, like nutrients, you're going to have better outcomes because passively you kind of avoid overdoing it, whether you realize it or not. I know it's true for me, especially, but dude, I don't, do you guys like, I don't, intermittent fasting, what we've been doing, like 16/8, I don't miss breakfast. I never have been a breakfast guy. I usually don't have an appetite for it. So it's not, but now I'm hearing people say now you should be eating X amount of protein within half hour, an hour of waking up. If you don't want to be hungry throughout the day, you should be having protein like right away, waking up and slamming protein. And I'm like, oh, really? Is that why I'm hungry all the time? Right. Motherfucker.
It's so crazy to me, dude. Who knows what's right? Who knows what's wrong? It's just, it's so confusing.
And to top it off, now all my favorite people are going to die young. He's literally saying like Rogan's done, Goggins is done. He's like, all these people that you guys love, they're not going to make it to 7. I'm like, oh man.
I don't know, man. Rogan seems to just get it. I don't know, man. He's an interesting guy. I mean,
yeah, if we had had more time, I would have asked him about because there's something to be said for being metabolically healthy too. And Rogan is clearly like the guy's not going to be like pre-diabetic. I mean, he's look at him. So I don't know. There are just so many factors in health and in mental health and physical health that have to be managed.
Yeah.
And then some things that are good for one factor are really bad for another factor in health. So That's they find it happens all the time. They find a medicine that, oh wow, it cures this thing, but then you find out, oh shit, no, actually it's shortening your life because it gives you cancer or whatever. So shit, man. I got it.
So crazy, dude.
Episode 800. We're like episode what 800 something. We still don't know what the fuck to eat.
Good point, dude. Good point. I mean, how deep are we? It's just so crazy.
I mean, I think we know we have a pretty good idea. Hey, Snickers and all that processed, that's not good for you.
Yes, that's not good.
Don't slam. I wish we had gotten into like sugar though. Like
well, you know what I wanted to bring up to him, and I just never found the right point. In the Bible, it talks about fasting.
Yeah, there are a lot of things like that. Now, I mean, fasting, it used to be really common. Apparently, like breakfast wasn't popular for a lot of human history. They thought, especially like early Christians, thought it was like gluttonous to have breakfast. So like Catholics, I think. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's also a completely different lifestyle, isn't it? What they were eating back then and how they lived. I mean, these were people.
Like, once we got into
the daylight
processed foods, it just became chaos.
Yeah.
Once it got past raising your food and eating it, and it got out of that, or just knowing the person that raised your food and eating it, it just got really crazy.
Yeah. It's one thing I miss about the country is like, hey, dude, guy got we gave a guy a pig. He knows where he got it from. You know what I mean? Like growing up, like it's so like nuts, people. It was fun. Like in small towns, everybody's got a guy for something. You know what I mean? I think Post Malone just did a song called "I Got a Guy for That" or whatever, and that's what it's like living in a small town. You have everybody's got like the car guy. Like we had the guy down the street who could fix your car. If you had car, you could change your oil filter, whatever. Most people knew how to change their own oil filters where I'm from, but he could change your oil filter. You had a guy for cows, like, hey, if we want to slaughter a cow this year and put some in the freezer for the winter, you had a guy for that. And in the city, I mean, it's all anonymous. It's all supermarkets and anonymity. So,
and the worst part about those supermarkets, they don't have anything now. They always just tell you get it online. Why the fuck am I here? Why do you think I'm here? If I knew I could get online, it's because I need it now. Whatever I'm here for, I need it now.
Which, hey, Amazon's got it now. You can get I mean, half the shit I buy, they're like, hey, you want it delivered same day? No problem, dude. Just get $25 of shit, and we will deliver it to your door in hours. Even Vons is doing that. The grocery store down the street will deliver. You don't have to leave your house anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
crazy.
Good, dude.
No, it's not good. Of course it's not good.
I don't know if that's good. So that was an interesting episode. Real quick, Johnny. Yes. So right now on the internet, there is just chaos with Robert Saleh getting fired. And a lot of people think it might be because of the Lebanon flag that he wore on his shirt, because the owner is like super duper Zionist.
Yeah, and yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is super crazy because the Jets are only one game out of the wild card, which for the Jets is pretty good.
Yeah, if you don't know, we're talking about the Jets head coach, this guy Robert Saleh. He was butting heads with Aaron Rodgers, who you may be familiar with. He's the quarterback from the NFL, if you're not a sports guy, who talks about UFOs, and he was anti-vax, all that shit. He got his coach, Robert Saleh, just got fired. And you're saying maybe because of the Lebanese flag, huh? He wore it on his shoulder right here.
Yeah, because he's Lebanese. And there's people coming out that that the owner is super, super Zionist. Really? So it's very interesting.
His name's like Woody Johnson, though, right? I mean, boy.
Yeah, but there's articles coming out where people have complained. He's asked, "Are you Jewish?" in interviews, all this stuff.
Really?
I mean, that's crazy. If that
would be crazy.
That would be just absolute. I mean, crazy, but not. At the same time.
Yeah.
Was Robert Saleh Muslim? Do we know?
No, but he's Lebanese.
So for someone who doesn't know about football, someone who doesn't know about football, should he be getting fired? Is the record enough to be like, can you justify? Hey,
it's early. It's they're like
he's 2-4, one game out of the wild card.
They're like 2-4, right?
No, they're 2-3.
So would you guys put your money on that it was the flag or his record?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Like, see, the thing about Aaron Rodgers is like he's perceived in two ways, right? Like he's a little brat, and at the same time he's kind of like chill, right? Just chill. So you don't know which Aaron Rodgers is real.
Oh, he is Muslim, by the way, Robert Saleh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, so it's kind of crazy, dude. We'll see, dude. We'll see. But like, people are already going nuts. It's like right after that. I mean, people are like, he's on the hot seat. I go, is
No,
he?
I'm shocked by it. I mean, and they had those awkward moments that they kept explaining away, like where Rodgers like pushed him away, and then the other one where you could tell he was like cursing MFing him, like on the side. Rodgers was directing it as coach, which is, I mean, you can't have if the coach is not respected by one of the players like that openly, you can't. I mean, that something's got, either the players got to go or the coach has got to go. We've seen it time and again. And ownership these days in every sport always sides with the players. Always.
Yeah, but my only listen, Robert Saleh has done nothing to earn credibility at this point. I mean, it's been a giant clusterfuck, right? But Aaron Rodgers is not the answer there. It's very weird that
he's
you
old.
would. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just the magic's gone. He got the injury. It's just the team isn't good. But it's not bad. Like in the AFC East, they're one game out.
And their defense is got talent. But
and he's
40 years old. That's old for a quarterback. Until Brady, that was really old for a quarterback.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they're one game. Like right now, the Broncos and the Pittsburgh Steelers have the wild card in the AFC. I know that nobody hates sport. Everyone hates sports talk, and the Jets are one game out. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, they said it was the Woody Johnson's, the owner's explanation was something like, we are not meeting expectations that we had so far. So yeah, it used to be you'd never see a coach get fired like this early in the season.
Yeah, especially when they're so close to being in a playoff game.
I mean, dude, David Tepper, the Panthers owner, got shit for firing Frank Reich last year when they started 0-4. So the guy being a game out of the wild card, although he's been there for a couple of years, to be fair, but I don't know. Yeah.
We live in crazy time. Guys, go to SamTripoli.com. We're going to get in it October 15th. Again, I am dropping. Go down, Tulse. October 15th, we're going to be banging it out. That's right. Sam Tripoli special, my special. Why is everybody getting quiet? Drops on SamTripoli.com and Rumble. It's going to be Rumble's premium content. So I'm very excited about that. I'm one of the first ones to be doing that over there. So I'm very excited about that. So that's October 15th. Again, I was on Kill Tony. That drops around the 27th. So enjoy that. That was a lot of fun. Tulsa, Oklahoma on the 14th through the 16th. Tampa Bay, Florida. If Tampa Bay is okay, I hope it's okay. On the 12th and on December 6th. And then Cancun. Eddie wants me out there 5 days doing Cancun. I'm like, 5 days in Cancun.
Nice. That's cool, dude. That'll be fun.
I mean, I don't ever know how to do that.
Isn't that hurricane like clipping over Cancun right now?
Basically, dude, these hurricanes are looking at my events calendar and deciding where to go based on where I'm performing at this point. That's why things going on.
Why are you following this hurricane on tour, Sam? It's so real.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. It's just looking at my dates and just going, I could play there. I could play there. I could play there. I could play there. Yeah. So if you go to SamTripoli.com real quick, all my premium content there, we're banging out great ones. You don't even see the dangerous there. The Johnny Cash is the dangerous. I don't list them on the front page. Really breaking down this weather manipulation. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm seeing so many people that I love that I think are great comedians going off on weather manipulation like it's not real. And I just don't engage them because they're like people I love. So I just don't engage them. But it's like, this is 100% weather manipulation. It's insane when you study it, how much of a science it is now. I mean, you remember?
So you're one of these people. Now, we may diverge on this, but you're one of these people who think they can actually direct these things. Like,
100%.
I'm not sure about that, but I do.
Johnny. I'll send you some videos. They'll show you where they just drop this stuff here, which will move the weather there.
Yeah, but I mean, a hurricane's a whole different thing. Okay. To me, I mean, I'm open-minded, of course.
Johnny, they've been doing it since 1940.
All right. Well, Johnny. Okay. For sure, Johnny, you believe that they can send it one way, right?
I believe they can seed clouds. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know what you mean by send it one way. But.
Or like they can send it towards Miami or like towards the East Coast.
I
like
think
what
they
I'm
can seed clouds that they know are following a certain like in a certain.
What you don't believe is that it's like a remote control where they can literally make a left turn.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's what you don't mean. Okay. Yeah. See, I think it's one in the middle where it's basically they can send it there and then see what happens.
Yeah. I don't think it's I just don't think it's like that. What you're saying. Yeah. Like a remote control. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm open-minded about it, but I don't know.
So go to SamTripoli.com.
By the way, the Jets have a 63%, according to NFL.com, chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, it makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense. If you go to Cash Daddies, you don't have to click on it, but we're going to Cash Daddies. The Patreon is on fire.
Yeah.
Our boy Howie Dewey. If you're looking for ways to invest in a chaotic market, go check that out. The Chaos Twins. We're working on the next episode. The next issue should be starting to be drawn right now. And all of our affiliates, Buy Gold and Silver, Wise Wolf, Rife Technologies, AquaCure Hydrogen Brown Gas, Harley Ray. We got our candles, our everything you need to get your crystals, your candles. I take it every day for my health, chemical-free body. I take it every day. Our good friend Joel Staley's helping us get in shape. EMF Rocks. If you're looking to fight dirty electricity, EMF Rocks is the best way. Prometheus is if you're looking for a website that is decentralized. And finally, if you're loving the questions that XG is asking, you can thank our good friends at Brain Supreme. That's right, microdosing. And then you can get everything you want on SamTripoli.com. You're going to get all my specials, all my content, all my audio, all my everything. They have radio shows there. You name it. You can listen to it all there at SamTripoli.com. Anything else, guys?
Hit that like button. Subscribe and give us 5 stars on
right there?
Spotify and iTunes. Yeah, I don't know what that was, but hit that like button.
Subscribe.
Are you AI? Are you AI? Actually, what was that? Glitch in the AI?
Hit that like button.
Kermit the Frog here. Check out Broken Sim. We had a good episode last week.
Okay, guys, enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
Do you want me to tell all the Skankfest stories?
It's entirely you do what you want to do. It's entirely up to you.
Okay. So I'll tell us real quick. So then one of my favorite things to do is that for some reason Dave Smith asks me every year to be a part of the problem. Now, he asked me much later
his podcast, right?
Yeah, okay. It's a great podcast. I love Dave Smith. He's so fast. He's one of those guys that are the fastest guys out there.
Still waiting for him to come back on TFH.
He'll come back on. Okay. He's great, right? He's great. So he asked me, and I was like, hey, Dave, you going to do the show this year? Because he didn't ask me. Usually I get asked much earlier. Finally, I get, hey, dude, you want to do TFH? Hell yeah, I do. You want to do Part of the Problem? Hell yeah. So it's him, Robbie Bernstein, and me. We've been like the staple of it for the last 3 years. And then they rotate in other people. And this year they had Nick DiPaolo and they had TJ Miller.
Oh, really? Wow.
And bro, I'm going to tell you, bro, those two guys are so fast and funny.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest with you, dude. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I almost got just lapped. I was panicking about 5 minutes in, thinking, oh, dude, I'm in trouble.
They're also loud, too. Like, and those guys are loud and quick. You never get a word.
Well, first of all, do you know that Nick DiPaolo was one of the first ever paying gigs I ever did in a comedy club?
Really?
He was the headliner.
That's cool.
And I was the feature.
I think a lot of him. I've always liked him.
Well, he's one of those guys that are just like, he's just slits throats on stage, nicest guy off stage.
He's an iconoclast.
Get your rage out on the stage, comes off stage. Old school, talking shit. That's what we love.
So funny. I loved him on Tough Crowd back in the day.
Yeah, he was great, dude. He's great. He's telling great stories. Anyways, so I go, hey, Nick, you are the one I opened for you at the Riviera. It was one of my first ever paying comedy club gigs. And you were the nice guy. I go, it's a dirty comedy show. He goes, I remember that. I go, yeah, dude, you were so nice to me. And I was just screaming at the crowd, you were the best. So anyways, I show up to the thing and I found this funny ass shirt. Okay. So Vegas is just running scams on everybody, right?
Of course.
So I walk by the shirt shop and they have these funny ass shirts. And one of them says, sounds gay, I'm in. And I was like, that was the funniest shirt I've ever seen.
Great. Okay,
It's-
that's great. Yeah.
Sounds gay. I'm in.
That's great.
So I'm like, I think I'm going to buy that and wear that. I'm part of the problem. So I go buy, I go, how much is that shirt? Sounds gay. I'm in. They go $25. I go, bang, let's go.
Good deal.
So I buy, I go, I'm going to come by tomorrow. So I come by, the girls I talked to weren't there. It's another girl.
What at the stop?
At the shop.
Why didn't you just buy it then?
I don't know, dude. Okay. I have to learn every lesson the hard way. Okay. So I'm with my friends and we go inside.
I love that you spent a night ruminating about should I buy the "Sounds Gay I'm In" T-shirt?
Yeah, sounds gay. I'm in. No, it's not sounds gay. I'm in. It's sounds gay.
No. I mean,
I'm
I
in.
love that you spent the night debating.
I don't know why I didn't buy it right there because I think I was running to a gig. I think I was running to a gig.
Fair enough. All right.
So the next night I'm going to do the show. I go to buy it. She prints it for me right there. She's like $45. I go, not happening. Buy. She goes, hold on. I go, I got promised $25 last time. She's like, I was working here last. I go, no, you weren't. You weren't one of the girls working here. It was $25. She goes, $30. I go, fine, $30.
That's what, dude. That's so funny.
Yeah, this used to be Melrose back in the day. They would rise the price up and then tell you they're giving you a discount.
Well, what happened was you must have gotten the kind of swarthy Armenian price
No,
the
it was
night
white
before,
girls.
and then you got the white price. No, I'm talking about you got the white. You're the white guy the next day.
No, it was a white girl the night before.
talking about
Give me
them.
25,
I'm talking about how they judge
and
you.
then a fucking Filipino the next day. I go, oh, okay. Of course you're a Filipino.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Though.
The people who think Joe Coy's funny are just running me.
That totally makes sense. See, the Filipino girl saw you as a white man,
Yeah.
but the white girl saw you as a swarthy Armenian.
Oh, respect,
That's what I'm
Johnny.
saying, yeah.
By the way, I almost bought a second shirt. It said, stop bullying me. You're going to make me come. I almost bought that shirt.
Oh.
I would love to.
Maybe we should start getting more experimental with the TFH t-shirts,
Well, we should get more experimental with the we should, by the way,
I mean, we can put
these
whatever we
shirts are
want.
just random shirts. We could totally sell them here.
I'm adding it tomorrow. It will be by the time you
Sounds
hear
gay,
this.
I'm in, and don't bully me. I'll come, okay?
By the time you listen to this
Put those
episode,
shirts
it
up.
will be at bsmerch.com. It will be on there.
It's so funny,
I'm
dude.
not joking. It will be there.
So goes, where can I get that shirt? I go, hey, it's going to be on BS. Fuck you, Filipino. You want to jack me for money? Now we're jacking your shirts.
bsmerch.com. Check it out.
So then I'm walking down and they have Tony Roma's there and they're like, oh yeah, dude, $11 prime rib. I'm like, damn, dude, $11, let's go. So my two friends from Phoenix show up. I take them to dinner, right? I'm like, let's go. It's $11. I got this.
Buying everything.
We go in, we sit down. We're like, yeah, what are the deals out there? Like, oh, dude, those are different times. I go, what are you talking about? Yeah, it's different times. It's only on an odd day.
That's called bait and switch.
100%, dude.
It's
That
illegal.
is Hollywood. Everything is bait and switch. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I go do the show. I have my sounds gay. I'm in. And then I realize I'm hanging out with Nick DiPaolo wearing this fucking shirt, which probably isn't helping me.
Yeah.
He's probably like, this fucking fruitcake.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick DiPaolo goes up, crushes. He brings up TJ Miller. TJ Miller crushes. Dave goes up, crush. Great. So we sit down. And I'm going to tell you something, dude. This part of the problem set, this show I watched, I was part of, is probably the one be my most favorite time doing stand-up. And the only other time that beats this is the End of the World podcast I did with Rogan and just having all my friends there.
Is it online anywhere? I'll check it out.
Well, I don't know if it's online.
Okay.
They're probably going to put it out at some point.
Okay. I'll try to find it.
I've never laughed so hard in my life. And dude, TJ Miller is the fastest motherfucker out there. Like, when someone blows up, you're like, oh, it's this, at least in my head. Bro, I get it. He's so funny. I never, we're always cool, but I just never am able to bond with anybody because I'm a fucking psycho, right? But it's like, dude, I get it. I fucking get it. He's so fast. He tells the funniest story about him and Dave go to a Bitcoin conference that Trump is speaking at.
Yeah.
All of Trump's Secret Service are huge fans of TJ Miller. So they let him do whatever he wants.
Really?
They
That's
don't
cool,
even
dude.
kill. He tells the funniest story about how he's just dressed like a crazy person. And Trump is on stage sitting at like a panel. And TJ Miller just gets up, walks across the panel. Nobody stops him. Stares at Trump. Trump makes eye contact with him. Walks across the other way. Secret Service is there. He's like, how do I get off stage? They're like, you're probably going to have to go back the other way. Walks back again. Makes eye contact with Trump. Walks off. Nobody did anything.
That's crazy. And that's how you almost get your president shot twice, by the way.
And this is a guy that had problems with the FBI. You remember that
Yes.
moment?
Yeah.
So crazy to me. But dude is the funniest story, one of the funniest stories I've ever seen told live.
Oh, I've always
He is
admired
so
his,
good.
His talent. Yeah,
He's so good, dude.
he's very funny. Yeah.
And like Dave Smith, this is how good TJ Miller and Nick DePaul was. Dave Smith hardly talked on his own podcast.
Another guy,
and he's so
perfectly, yeah.
oh yeah, dude. Dude,
Quick.
I am drowning up there. I'm like, I am getting lapped when I throw something. I'm getting nothing at first, and then this story comes out about Nick DePaul having a trans nephew that's now a niece.
Okay.
And dude, I throw out this line that crushes. And I just go, imagine being trans and your uncle is Nick DePaul.
Yeah.
And the whole place went nuts. Everyone's high-fiving me on the panel. And I'm like, okay, I'm good now. I got my laugh in. I'm totally good. Let's go, right? So yeah, dude.
It's so funny that you were on a panel where you had to revert to being the sniper. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like that. How many rooms can you ever be in where
Bro,
you have to be the sniper?
I was lucky to be there. Like they were like, dude.
But that's a special room. If
yeah.
you're the
When
sniper.
I'm like fucking struggling to get a laugh in. Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
just sitting back and like looking for your
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's hard.
So it was good to be out there. Saw all the boys. It was like an old school Comedy Store fucking lineup.
That's
all,
cool, man.
Yeah, all of them. And you know, I'm bitching about LA comedy. And the people who used to live in LA left, all like, yeah, you're totally right. The people who are still in LA were all like, you know. And I'm like, I get it, because you're benefiting from it, but you know it's wrong. You know what's happening here is wrong. And it's like, that's why we gotta go. I gotta get out of here.
And it's not, and it's not just the comedy though. If it was just the comedy, you know, you could maybe bring up your girls here and just live your life. But it's not. It's the politics. It's just everybody that you encountered in your day-to-day life now. So many of them are aggressively stupid.
Johnny,
just aggressively stupid.
So the funniest thing is like, Fremont Street is like a alien science project. Like if human beings were like sea monkeys.
It's funny. I've been to Vegas 100 times.
Johnny,
I've never been down there.
I don't know how you would take it. I love it. It makes me laugh. It's just like regular people loving their lives, but you're like, oh, America is fucked. That's what you get out there. And it's just like, there's a guy there, there's two guys there, and their whole thing is they're dressed up as giant gorillas, and you take pictures with them. And I'm like, this is Joe Biden's economy, right? These are where all the jobs that Joe Biden's administration has created is at fucking is on Fremont Street. And then we've talked about this before, but there's just chicks who are like
Fremont Street and the guy handing you the parking ticket to get you out of
and the sign flippers, okay?
Yeah.
So we do that, and you go there, and it's like there's just chicks there that want you to pay them to take pictures with them.
Are you serious?
And they're
hot, you mean?
No, but they're like sixes at the best.
But are they like their titties are out or something like that?
Yeah, but it's not like you're like, damn, bro, let me take a picture with that. You're like, no, it's
Boy,
like
it really has gotten to like the idiocracy level. It's like they've literally monetized being hot, like immediate, like just direct.
Johnny,
face-to-face.
hand to God.
That's so weird.
Every chick that did that looked like she was a teacher who got busted hooking up with their students, and they just can't get a job anywhere else. So they have to dress up as showgirls and beg you to give them $10 for a picture. Oh, and guess what? Guess how I'm so proud. Guess what Sam turned down at Skankfest?
If you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, subscribe to Broken Simulation in your podcasting app or check us out at youtube.com/SamTripoli.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.